ねえ、あそこの人知ってる？
誰？
ウルトラマンガイア。
そう。だってあのガッキっぽいのが。私はアグルの藤宮君のがタイプ。
ダメ。
Welcome back to Mr. Tigertrap Films, your place for all things tokusatsu, whether that be Ultraman, Godzilla, and many more. And to continue my trend this year of covering different parts, different facets, different dimensions of the Ultraman franchise, for the big big 60th anniversary in the fine year of 2026. And I also wanted to build off my past about 3+ years of Ultraman video essays to give you some good stuff. Last time we talked about Ultraman Neos and how that show is a bit of a time capsule, filling a gap in 2000 for that release of a gap between shows. Lo and behold, in the year 2001, there was also a bit of a gap in series. Sure, just like in 2000 we had a movie release, in 2001 we got Ultraman Cosmos First Contact, but they need a little something else to kind of fill the rest of gaps when it comes to TV syndication. And since this was part of the company's tenure of Tsuburaya Productions being supervised by the grandson of the great Eiji Tsuburaya, his grandson being Kazuo Tsuburaya, that meant we got some pretty neat specials during his tenure as president, as CEO of the company. Lo and behold, in 2001, building off of Neos being a direct-to-TV series, we got these 3 2001 specials covering everybody's favorite holy trinity of characters, Tiga, Dyna, and Gaia. This video will more so talk about the 3 specials in a vacuum, with a few minutes spent on each individually, but not recapping them. I'm just going to bounce back and forth as I see fit. And as I'm covering this and talking to you guys right now, I'm currently flying my own Strike Team ship, but it's very toasty in here. I think I might get caught through a wormhole. But nonetheless, sit back, relax, and let me know in the comments what you think about this sort of secret 2001 trilogy, this offshoot of our beloved Tiga, Dyna, and Gaia that isn't really talked about as much as the shows or the movies themselves. Essentially, the specials follow each other when it comes to their timeline relations to their respective series. Tiga's is predominantly in the past, Dyna's occurs during his show as a sort of lost episode, and Gaia's is in the future as a bonus epilogue. Since the TDG Trilogy released a compact package with their respective full film releases included, I can see why the creative teams had to figure out something unique to do that made sense, something that was worth telling, even if it's a bit minor. And each of these 3 specials had their own chief creative teams behind them for the most part, as in people who worked on their original releases, the trilogy when it released back in 1996 through 1999 when Gaia finished his airing. So first we got Tiga's special called Revival, the Ancient Giant. Director is Hirochika Murashi, director of episodes of Tiga, the Mebius, other Toku shows like Gridman. And the writer is Yu Yamamoto, known for classic Gundam and episodes from Tiga the Cosmos. And like I said, the producer of all 3 of these specials was Kazuo Tsuburaya himself. Now, if Tiga's special is part sequel, part epilogue, and part prequel, it's got all the logs in there, making it an interesting case of finding something to tell in a world already occupied by the final Odyssey and Dyna himself. Remember, this is the Neo Frontier. Here we follow Daigo and Reina's son, Tsubasa, who is probably one of the kids we saw at the end of Dyna's movie. Tsubasa, now an adult in 2038. Man, we're almost getting there in real life. It means Tsubasa's lived through the events of Dyna, which took place in 2017, and saw Super Guts evolve into Neo Guts. So his whole Neo Frontier universe is definitely lived in. If anything, this may be the most documented strike team outside the entire Showa era. Now, the final Odyssey, Tiga's movie, released a year prior in March of 2000. So as to why Daigo's actor himself couldn't appear due to his agency a mere few months later for production, that makes no sense to me. The Tiga special was released in January of 2001, so it's not like there was some crazy gap in production schedules, right? Thankfully, his agency seems to be done now, so in the grand year of 2026, we can expect more Daigo appearances at events. It's just something interesting to note. Now, I will say about this whole Tiga special as a whole, it is quite unique, right? We get to see the son of an Ultraman go back in time to those ancient, fabled ancient civilization events that the whole show talked about quite a bit, that being the people that lived 30 million years ago. And as we saw in the Final Odyssey, it also included a whole war between this species of ultras. As for my overall thoughts, I enjoy this one. It's quite good. Again, it's got the same teams we're accustomed to from Tiga, so it's not like they just had some other guys take charge of it. But this is probably, for me personally, the least interesting of the three. I just prefer what Dyna Gaia did, and I just kind of wish that maybe Tiga's was the one that cooked a little more in the oven. And I really would have minded seeing more of their son, Tsubasa. I think having the son of an Ultraman was something pretty unique. But of course, as this special went, and kind of the, weirdest in seeing these ancient people that he gets to meet when he goes through the wormhole, he doesn't really get to do a whole lot as Tiga, and by the end of the special, one of those kids from the ancient civilization is the one that ultimately becomes Tiga, or at least summons Tiga, which does keep the trend of Tiga, being able to be summoned by anybody, especially kids. But all in all, for the villains involved too, there's quite a few kaiju in this special. But overall, I don't think that they made the Ultra Ancient Past as interesting as it could be, but still a nice special to check out. When we got to Dyna, Dyna is about the return of Hanajiro. I love that little guy. The director was Masaki Harada, director of several episodes of Tiga the Cosmos, and the writer was Hideyuki Kawakami. The writer, he also wrote during episodes of Tiga the Mobius era. This Dyna special was one I remember being recapped, and I think it was Chronicle D in the lead up to Ultraman Decker. I remember when they had like Ultraman Z and other Ultras pop up, including some recaps of Tiga and Dyna. So this is about when I first saw this special. It's nice to see Hanajiro again, and the three stooges known as the Alien Miji. This trio in particular, known as Dole, Udo, and Kamachinko, were highlights of the two episodes that they appeared in during Dyna, and seeing them meet Hanajiro and forced to help Super Guts and Dyna and Asuka was a real treat. There was always something endearing about seeing some goofy side antagonists having to help the hero in the end, and in this case, I think it worked out quite well. I'd probably rank this one. Since this one takes place during the series, it's kind of a lost episode, kind of like Dyna's own movie. I quite enjoyed it. There's a fun fight or two, and it's nice seeing, again, those alien Miji, Hanajiro, and I quite like the enemies of this one. So Dyna's has this guy called 1Z as a new main kaiju antagonist, evolving from his first form, R1. And the main antagonist, alien-wise, is Kasa Mandara, kind of android, and there's a lot going on, a lot of aliens everywhere on this one, but all in all, it's quite good. And then jump back to Tiga. His special had the Kaiju Jomanoid, and this is a big one. This guy only appears for a little bit, that being Kura Yamanorochi, that big dragon guy we see, based off the old legend of Orochi. And then we have the main kind of bad guys, that being Digof and Dogof, being Gollum, Kaiju. Right off the bat, this is my favorite of the three. And for good reason. Director is Takeshi Yagi, known for episodes of Tiga the Mobius, and one of my favorite films, Superior 8 Ultraman Brothers. And he was also the main man behind Ultra 7X, a series I first discovered late last year. You can check out that video as well. I quite adore Ultra 7X. And the writer being Chiaki J. Konaka, who also wrote from pending story drafts for Ultraman Great, and then also writing for episodes all the way up to Ultraman Max during the Heisei era. Konaka was also the younger brother of Ultraman director Kazuya Konaka, who you might know him as the director, for example, of Ultraman the Next Film. So as I said, Gaia 2001 may be my favorite. It is my favorite of these three specials, since it feels the most quote-unquote eventful, if that makes sense. That is by no means a slight to the other two specials, but I feel like Gaia's World, or Gaia's Earth, wink wink, is one I always wanted to see more of. And this special delivers in that sense. Gaia's hyperspace film took a more spiritual route, a la Gazla's Revenge, as in, that one kind of commentary of it taking place in the real world of these characters getting to our world. That was what that movie was kind of about. But here in Gaia again, we get to see Zig again, all of our favorite faces of the contemporary cast. We get to also see a bit of Gamu's college life. I mean, look at this shot of Gamu after these girls try hitting on him from afar and talking about, they know he's Ultraman. That's another thing about Gaia's world that I'm glad that this special kind of brings up a little bit with. After the events of the season finale of the show, everybody in the world knows that Ultraman's a man, and they know that Ultraman is these two guys. So for Gamu, dude, you should be living that up. Let everybody, you should take a little bit of the benefit of being Ultraman, if you know what I mean. Especially being a college student. But look at the face he makes here after those girls hit on him. It's awesome. Gamu, you were a goddamn badass. So essentially in Gaia again, we get to see the enemies are just remnants of the Destruction Bringers invasion forces and what I believe is supposed to be leftover guys from Zog's invasion in the finale. And of course, we get our boy Agul. You know what? They should have called this special Agul again. I need some more Agul appreciation. Just send a lot of blue emojis and water emojis in the comments if you're another, Agul enjoyer. So yeah, I mean, again, this is a fun special, as I'm about to get into the enemy kaiju, but I like seeing all these characters again in Gaia's world. Also, like I said, we get this legendary shot of Gamu. The radical destruction bringer could never. So this special has the Renar, an intelligent underwater species, kind of like these little tadpole guys, I guess, little aquatic, maybe they're more like plankton, I guess, some kind of, amoeba-looking things. But they're an intelligent race that live deep in the Earth's ocean. And I think, unless I'm missing some kind of folklore or maybe some other, mythological counterpart in some, culture around the world, because what Gaia show do is bring, occult figures, some different, cultures and make them two monsters from the fight. So for the Renar, I'm not too sure. But essentially, there's, again, with keeping the themes of this particular incarnation of Ultraman, the Earth is alive and it has a lot of intelligent species, with these little aquatic guys just being another one, but ones that were attacked by the remaining of the radical destruction bringers forces, that being the monster hordes of Bayakule and their master Gakuzam. Gakuzam is by all means a homage to Baraba and Tyrant from the Showa era once he gets his powered form, and especially Gakuzam's left arm weapon reminds me of Gigan from the Godzilla franchise. Oh, we love Gigan in this house. And for Gaia's Agul's special, I just love seeing these two tag team guys who Gakuzam in the final fight. It's very atmospheric. I just wish that they're a little I kind of wish they're a little stronger in this fight. I get it that they haven't been Ultraman since the end of the show, and I know that the laws of this incarnations is a bit different how they become Ultraman, but I was kind of hoping they both be a little stronger, just kind of not wiping the floor with this guy, because obviously this is a monster as a leftover from the main antagonist forces, but just a little bit more power on them. But nonetheless, from that little complaint aside, it's always nice to see Gaia and Agul tag team a mean bastard. So good stuff. All in all, I think the main foes for these projects all work fine for their respective roles and stand out from each other. The protagonists are, this isn't supposed to break any ground. It's supposed to be just a fun special for fans that fall in love with these particular versions of Ultraman. And I think for all intents and purposes, the real appeal for me is just seeing the world that they live in once again. Because for all the times we see different Ultras appear, we don't often get to just spend time in their world a little bit longer. The big thing is, to cap off this video as well, if you wanted more from the Tiga Dana Gaia trilogy, then this was for you. I found them to be fun bonuses, like a free victory lap of sorts. You don't need to watch them since each show is finished from their original episode run. Each show is contained, including their movies, but these specials are a nice addition. They may not be as grand or talked about like their respective films from Tiga Dana Gaia, but if you haven't seen these specials, they're a nice way to spend an afternoon. And just browsing on Amazon and other shopping stores, you can find Mill Creek, or I think they're called Home Media Alliance's releases of Tiga Dana Gaia for a very nice price still. They're still in print, it looks like, and they all come with these specials. But let me know in the comments, what are your favorites? I want to hear them. The Gaia one's my favorite, but what's yours? Are you also on a Google stand? What was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out my other videos celebrating 60 years of Ultraman. and including my past 3 years of Ultraman and tokusatsu work. I'm Mr. Tiger Drop Films. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, because I got more cooking. Until then, mwah.